Welcome to Pili
Raúl,
and La Musica
supported by Shure Microphones
and Jack Daniels. For more information, follow us at Pili, Raúl, and La Musica.
It is such a pleasure to kick off 2020 with the artists that we're about to present. With us tonight is Ramón, better known as Bostich, from part of Bostich and Fusible from Nortec Collective. He came all the way from Tijuana. Where are my Mexicans at? That's what I thought. They've spoken at TED. They have played at Coachella, Glastonbury, Outside Lands, you name it. Vive Latino. They're celebrating 20 years of career. They launched their greatest hits album at the end of last year. And they truly have been able to create their own genre by mixing banda norteño sounds with electronic music. But do you want to introduce Ramón?
The Grammy-nominated, Latin Grammy-nominated, international awards, superstars from around the world, and joining us here all the way from Tijuana, Mexico. Give it up for Ramón, better known as Bostich of the Nortec Collective. Well, Ramón, good to see you. Welcome back to Los Angeles. I know you came all the way from Tijuana right now. But, of course, Nortec Collective, celebrating 20 years. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
20 years of career. You and Pepe met in the late 80s, correct? In Tijuana. What were you doing back then?
Yes, we started there in Tijuana. I think we were very lucky. For Tijuana is a border. We grew up listening to radio stations from San Diego. These radio stations, they were not from San Diego. They were from Tijuana, but the antennas
Yeah, the antennas.
were in Tijuana, and the radio stations were in English, like 91X. So we were very lucky to listen to 91X and another, like a TV, public radio, with a lot of techno pop, a lot of electronic music. Even in the bars and a lot of hip hop music, a lot of electronic, and the other hand, the traditional music. So it's back at that years, we were very lucky that we have a bar called Iguanas that I remember watching there a lot of bands. Nirvana opening for another band.
Wait. So Nirvana played at a bar in Tijuana called Tijuana's?
Yes, yes. Iguanas there play Ramones, Vivo, OMD, Front 242, Psyche TV, a lot of experimental bands. So not the influence was only the radio stations. The influence was very direct, watching the bands playing in front of us.
Were you already attracted to being a musician, or what were you doing? Because I know he's actually a dentist, by the way. I know you would never tell that, but he's actually a dentist.
Yes, he has great smile, great teeth.
Thank you. When I finished my career as a dentist, I studied music, a career of music, but I continue doing dentistry for 27 years, and I have a lot of patients. One of my patients was one of the guys from Bauhaus, this band.
Wow.
And a lot of friends came to my dental office, but I decided to finish my career as a dentist because with Nortec, we used to have a lot of work and playing in a lot of festivals, so I decided to only do music.
That's kind of crazy, though, that you were still doing the dentistry for about 10 years, even after Nortec had started up.
Yes.
So.
I miss my career. I used to love it as an orthodontist.
Well, it's a good career to fall back on. If you need to.
More money than music.
Wow. Okay, that's good to know. Aspiring dentist. So, what are some of the other inspirations that influenced Nortec? I hear Kraftwerk. I hear the band Yellow. So many other ones, because there was so much electronica, of course, from Nortec, fusing the sounds of Mexican regional. Who were some of the others?
Yes, I remember I was a super fan of Kraftwerk and the early 80s techno pop and industrial music. And I didn't imagine that I end up as a musician because working as a dentist. But when I started working with Pepe, I think was in the late 80s. I used to play in a lot of raves in Mexico City, in Guadalajara, and Monterrey, because my first album was more techno-oriented in 1994.
And by this time, you were by yourself, right? You weren't with Pepe.
Yeah, no, by myself, but Pepe used to play in an industrial band. So I asked Pepe to follow me in my concerts, and the partners of their band, they got mad with Pepe that he played with myself, and he fired Pepe, and so we started working together from '94. But in '99, when Nortec, everything changed.
So there was other people like in Nortec, and maybe there's still, Clorofila, there's Panoptica. How many members compile Nortec Collective?
Yes, the thing is, when we started Nortec, Pepe and I, Pepe in 1999 called me in my dental office, and I was there, and he told me, "Hey, I have some sounds of norteño and band, and sounds weird, sounds like very bad, so, out of pitch, out of tempo, bad recordings." And he asked me to work with that sounds and with electronic music, and I think Pepe was like with something like
It was like
drunk or something like that. And okay, he gave me the sounds, and he gave me the sounds. Sorry, and I started working, and I did this track called Polaris, and Pepe in his house working the Ventilador, another song, and every minute we did these songs. We called by phone because at that time no internet. We called it and hey, listening to this sound, and the tuba sounds crazy, and in a few days, 4 or 5 days, we met in his house, listening to the tracks. He listened Polaris, and I listened to his song Ventilador, and we realized that something happened with something different, something that represents the Tijuana. It's like a soundtrack, imagining the electronic music in one hand and the traditional Mexican in another hand. So we decided to share the sounds to another musicians, not only in Tijuana, even in Mexico. And from them, we invite at the beginning a lot of real musicians there, but nobody respond. So the other friends like,
you're like, this is really weird.
So the only friends that respond that friends that there were not musicians. Verdin was a musician, but was more in from Clorofila, was more into the graphic design.
Right.
Another friend was a promoter. The other were not musicians, so we decided to help them. The only real musicians that were Terrestre, Fernando Corona, is a super musician, and Planton. And so we shared the sounds, and in a few days, everybody came with their demos.
Wow.
And we burned CDR, and we uploaded one of the songs, Polaris, in Napster. And was one of the most downloaded songs in that time.
Wow.
Napster. And so Nortec started very fast, like dynamite.
Yeah, I believe that as soon as you guys named yourself Nortec Collective and you put out that demo out there, then you were playing at Coachella.
Yes, something happened very fast. Somebody invited us a few days to play in San Diego, and they were opening like a museum there in downtown. And I was playing there, and somebody came to me, and I met there the bass player, David J. from Bauhaus. He was walking there outside and came inside, and he told me, I was walking here and I heard your song, Polaris, and I want to meet you. And from there, he was my patient and my friend. So
2 in 1, that's awesome. So who here is a fan of norteño music? Okay, I'm not. But the interesting thing is, like, neither of you were either.
Yes, of course. We are not fans. I am fan of traditional Mexican music. I love my roots and my music, but at that time we didn't match with this aggressive and sound of norteño, were more like corridos, like from drug dealers, bad words, a lot of things. At that time, 1999 was more like a shock for us, so we didn't like it. So we decided to deconstruct that music, recycle that music that we grew up and doing something new, something different. At that time, I loved drum and bass, jungle, that kind of music. And so when I received the sounds, I was trying to do a drum and bass song. But when I listened to the drummer of Banda Sinaloense, it was like a real drum and bass. I just did copy paste, and the song Polaris came very fast.
Wow. And you're meshing two traditional sounds, what was electronica and regional Mexican. How was the response at that time to the sound from people in Tijuana?
Yes, it was very different. People from Tijuana with electronic, they celebrate, because with Tijuana we didn't have something that was like Tijuana. Because Tijuana is a mixture of different cultures. So nothing represents something from Tijuana. At that time when the sound came, the people celebrate. But in another place, the people sometimes people hate Nortec. They say, no, norteño and banda is like a naco music, or that's not good music. Why are you doing that? But they invite us to a big festival in Mexico, about 100,000 people in front of us.
Is this Vive Latino?
No, in Zócalo.
Okay.
The first time was a lot of German DJs, only played techno. And the promoter, they told us they don't play Nortec, just play your old music, your techno. We'd say, okay, we're going to play that. But when Pepe and I were there, we played all the Nortec set. and the people respond very good. Nobody whistle, or nobody.
They didn't throw tomatoes at you or huevos.
No,
Okay.
nothing.
Okay,
No,
okay.
they didn't dance. They didn't They don't know why.
Was it more just shock? Like,
what was a like shock? And one of the DJs, DJ Hell from the International DJ Gigolos, one of the best electro and techno music in the 90s. He was there playing, and he listened to this song Polaris, and he came to me. It was in year 2000, and he told me, can I take your song to do in a compilation? Yes, of course. And he paid me with all his collection of the DJ set, the vinyls. It's for you, and because I don't have money, so take the vinyls. So I wasn't a DJ at that time. Pepe was a DJ, so he played for 2 years with that vinyls.
I'm sure that record box is worth a lot of money these days.
Exactly. You were talking about deconstructing the banda sound, right? What similarities did you find between electronic music and banda?
Yes, I think for us was very easy, because we didn't trying to mix merengue or salsa, because we grew up listening to norteño and banda. Even you don't like it, if you are in a taxi or on a wedding or something, you listen to banda and norteño.
It's like reggaeton music in Puerto Rico. Even though you don't like it, it's there.
It's gonna be
there. You can't escape it.
So when I came, I have the sounds was like sometimes I'm going to upload that sounds, because it was very bad recordings. The guiro and everything was out of tempo. The trumpet was out of the pitch, so the tune, and for us was like I think sounds very Aphex Twin, this experimental electronic music, and for us was trying to do that was very easy to cut and manipulate that sounds with vocoders and synthesizers and the early software to do electronic music, and was very, very easy. Honestly, Polaris, I did it in 3 days or less, and the other, at the beginning, was very productive. A lot of songs came at that time.
Yeah, I mean, usually when producers make a track that is like instantaneous, is spontaneous, those are usually the best tracks because it comes naturally and so quickly. I want to get into a little bit about like other bands and other artists that started gravitating to the sound of Nortec. I know you did a remix for Kinky. You did the remix for Son de Mi Primer Amor. Fantastic record. The remix of yours was the first version of that song that I was playing back in the day on KCRW. And then you get like Pepe as Fusible doing the remix of Titan of Corazon. Again, big records for KCRW. How did those remixes come about?
Chris Allison from Sonic 360, that label from London, and he was very very interested in Nortec, and he invited me to do a remix. I think the first remix to Nortec I did it for Cerati, because he was there in Tijuana, and he was very very fan from Nortec, and he asked me to do a remix, and I did a remix, and then I did
For what song? What Cerati song?
Sulky. Sulky I did, and at that time I was deconstructed the norteño, but at that time I trying to deconstruct the malambo music, that this ethnic music from the South America. And but I honestly I didn't put the lyrics of Cerati on, because I was more electronic. I only a few lyrics, or most. But with Kinky, Chris Allison asked me to do the remix, send me the files, and then from then I think we met all the Kinky, and from then we are friends. We're very friends from Hill and all the musicians.
We sense that, like every time we interview a band from Mexico, I love how there's this sense of brotherhood when it comes to bands. They really help each other out. You guys are a major collective in a way. Nortec Collective is actually the first collective out of Tijuana. And I think it's really important for us to dig into what Tijuana has to offer, because there's a huge misconception about Tijuana. You know, there's a lot of negativity around Tijuana, but there's also a beautiful cultural and artistic movement going on in Tijuana that inspired you guys. Talk to us about the influence of Tijuana in your music.
Yes, Tijuana is a super chaotic city. I just remember Tijuana. I born in Tijuana, and I just remember that new places with this urban without water, without electricity, the drug dealers and everything. But you know, I think Tijuana, one side is this chaotic thing, and in other places Tijuana is like an amalgam of cultures, because every time the people came from different states, we adapt the culture in food and music and everything. Even lately we have a lot of people from Haiti, this country, and we accept that people in everything. So Tijuana is this border city, and so we are lucky for not only the culture, even the food, and now about a big movement of this food, like a Bajamet,
Right.
I think we're very lucky, but
the sounds too, all the sounds that you hear.
Yes, but I think Nortec in somehow represent our reality of the worst time. I think was in 2007. It was very dangerous, and a lot of kidnapping and the drug dealers. So at that time we did this album, Tijuana Sound Machine.
That's like a pivotal record for you guys. When Tijuana Sound Machine came out, it was a time where it's like, oh wow, now these guys aren't just, producers with beats. Now you guys are including lyrics, and it made a little more kind of like songs. Did you realize that you had something special at around that time?
Yes, at the beginning, Nortec was very experimental. With that sounds, experiment. Even we didn't work with real musicians. Was the all the accordions, the trumpets, even the lyrics. We took the lyrics and everything from that recordings. And when we did the songs, I was working in my dental office, and the guy who record all the sounds.
I could just imagine. Wait, first you're at a dental office and you hear out of the background, and people are going like, it's like
no, yes, and the guy who did the recordings, he called me and said, hey, I did all the recordings and I going to have a lawyer because you use my sounds. And I said, okay, do it. But what I took the songs, but the songs that I took was a cover from Beatles. A cover from Beatles, only covers.
Right.
So we didn't recognize, and I told him, it's okay. Okay, let's go to your studio and record the musicians from them. At the beginning was only that recordings, but we started working with real musicians. So that album, the Tijuana Sound Machines, was another step beyond working the musicians. But the musicians there were very afraid to play live with us because we used to play only in electronic music events. And when we invited them to play with us, they came dressing like a more raver, more techno things. No.
Were they dressing the part?
I just could play with your hat and everything. No. The people are going to laughing at me. And but then we asked them to play with their hats and everything. And now they are the rock stars. We are not just playing in the back.
Yeah, because it also shifted a little bit to where they're in the forefront. They're now the performers that you guys are kind of showcasing in the live performance, which is really cool because you think about it, it's like, okay, normally these were just samples and these were just little bits that you recorded, and now they're bringing the live element to your performance. And I remember when the evolution of Nortec, you and Pepe, to where it became and to what it is now. I mean, it's a big arc. Were you thinking that the audience is expecting this, the live element to the performance?
I think it's the sound were changing and evolution. I think that's a good thing. Because if the second or third album sounds like the first album, I think was Nortec dead. When Nortec started, one of my friends told us, hey, Nortec is only 1 or 2 years and it's okay.
It's kind of like what they say about reggaeton. It's kind of what they said about
expiration date.
Yeah.
But we is still here 20 years, even a few years we decide to end up the sound of Nortec. But when we announced that we're going to end up the sound of Nortec, a lot of people started calling us, like Cirque Du Soleil, or even doing collaborations, and so we decided to continue doing this sound.
Yeah, so now that you mentioned Cirque Du Soleil, you guys did the music for Lucia, which is one of Cirque Du Soleil's shows. Yeah. How have any of you seen it? Okay, so the soundtrack was made by Nortec Collective. So it's a mix of like luz, which is light, and lluvia, which is rain. How did that collaboration come about? I mean, that's a big fucking deal.
Mm-hmm, yes. We played in Montreal. Is the place where Cirque du Soleil started. So we were there, and one guy in the audience stayed there, and when we finished the show, he invited us to meet at the place from Cirque du Soleil. It's like a city. It's a huge city, and we were there, and they told us, we have a plan to do a Mexican contemporary music with Cirque du Soleil, and we have another bands. It's a lot of bands was invited to do that. And they asked us to do a song, and we told them, okay, let's do a song. So we started with one song, and they like it, and they asked us to another song, and they like it too. And Cirque du Soleil is very jealous, so they're very professionals. So they decide to send people from Cirque du Soleil to Tijuana to make sure that we're doing the music. And,
wow. They didn't believe you were making the music?
So wait, so they sound like detectives?
So I think...
Cirque du Soleil detectives, making sure that the music is original.
So if it's easy to spot a Cirque du Soleil detective.
Yeah.
They're usually wearing a lot of face makeup.
The leotards and doing these weird movements.
I think was not a good decision from them, because they sent the people to Tijuana, and when they were here, we did a tour with them, the food, the beers, a lot of mezcal, and they get drunk, and they decide to do the complete album. So that's the story.
Nothing alcohol can't fix, right?
That's true.
So going from something like Cirque du Soleil, which is like rainbows and puppies, let's talk about, again, your music. And is there any social criticism in your music at any moment?
I think our music is always has something to do with our reality. Tijuana is a city that changed very fast, very fast. And 1989, when we started Nortec, was a city very industrial with a lot of companies, a lot of television assemble companies, a lot of trailers, a lot of things, and it's more like a more industrial thing happened. But little by little, I think 2007 when was a little violent. So we most of the songs has something to do with the violence. I have a song that is called Acai 47 that I did a mixture of words with the Acai, my main instrument, this MPC sampler, and 47 from the gun. And I did that song. Pepe did another song called Reten, because we used to have a lot of checkpoints, and Pepe record all the conversations and did that song. And in 2010, we were traveling a lot. We were most of the time out of Tijuana, but most of the news was a very bad news. And one of the worst news was we used to have a new boulevard called Boulevard 2000. At the beginning, the idea was to connect different cities with that boulevard, but end up like the place where a lot of dead people they put the so we decided to put that name on our album, Boulevard 2000. And the good thing about this is when you Google at the beginning, because we Google the name, and when you put Boulevard 2000, only bad news about Tijuana. A lot of death, a lot of killing. But when we released the album, when you put Boulevard 2000, a lot of things, only music came. So it's for that this is very good because it's another face from Tijuana. That's only the bad things. It's cultural or music in another hand.
But that's a great example of the power of music. You know, you're changing how Tijuana is looked at. You know, and that's really powerful. So congratulations on that. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, because a lot, it's all perception. Like you were talking about what you guys are witnessing in the news, it's always just sensational, and it's always just the bad stuff that you hear about, especially if you're out of the country. Like if you're watching the news in LA and they mention Tijuana or somewhere a border town, it's going to be something about narcos. It's going to be something negative. So you guys kind of like bridge that cultural gap that was needed, you know, and that just goes to show, like Pili just said, music is so powerful. It's the message. And I kind of sense that the Boulevard 2000, it was this kind of like lineage and this kind of thing to combine sounds, combine ideas. I mean, where did it come up that you wanted to name it that?
Because it's for the news. Because in some way, our music, we're trying to represent what's happening in Tijuana. And so we were traveling, and the news only was Boulevard 2000. Boulevard 2000, that killing, Boulevard 2000, that. And so that's the reason we decided to put that.
It's also a risk. So it's awesome that you guys were willing to take risks. And I mean, it's something that you've been doing from the beginning, because if you're mixing, again, those very traditional Mexican sounds with electronic, that's also a risk. So taking risks for you has been favorable, for sure. And talking about risk, how much do you think luck has been on your side? Because what I hear is that Chris Blackwell, who is the founder of Island Records, who is a label who launched U2, Bob Marley, and my favorite band, The Killers. They found you guys, and it was really randomly, right? Tell us a story.
Very random. At that time, when we uploaded this song in Napster, was like a little famous, this Polaris song, and so we decided to burn, Pepe and I, 1,000 copies of CD-ROM in our houses with everything, and we give that albums for free in a party. And one of that albums came to the hands of Camilo Lara.
From Mexican Institute of Sound.
Yes, at that time was from EMI, I think was an EMI, and album to Camilo, and I think the album was there, and her friend Kim Bui, he found the album because the art of the album was made from Fris Torres, one of the guys from the visual hand of Nortec. And he said, "What is it? It's music." He said, "His music from Tijuana." Okay, take it. And she take the album, the CD, and she played that album in a birthday party in Chris Blackwell, in his house. And he listened to the music, and he like, "What is that?" "Oh, it's music from Tijuana." And he sent Kim to sign Nortec in Palm Pictures label. So that's the story about. But when he invited us to sign the contract with Palm, he invited Bono from U2, and the guy from Napster. It's a very, very young guy. He was there, and we were in his house. And then another day we signed the contract with Palm Pictures.
I mean, pinch me. Like, what are the chances? That's amazing.
Well, I think that's who it was then. Camilo Lara was at KCRW también. He brought the CDR. And that CDR right now, if you ever go to KCRW, for whatever reason, we have a huge music library with a bunch of CDs. If you go through the CDs and you go to the Nortec section, that CDR that he's talking about is right there.
Yes, the first time Nortec sang in a radio station was in KCRW.
Yeah.
And they... yes.
It's good music. That's what it came down to, because like they gave us the CDR, and Nick Harcourt is all like, "Well, check this out. It's obviously in Spanish," and I put it in and I popped it in the player, and there was no lyrics. So I gave it right back to Nick, and I'm like, "You got to check this shit out. It's really freaking good."
Fusible means fuse in Spanish, but what's Bostich?
Bostich. Okay, Bostich. I took the name. I think was in 1989. I did a demo song. I started my project in 88, but with not only like Ramón La Musica. But in 1989, a friend of us invited me to do a song from his radio station in Tijuana. It's a public radio from there. I did a song, and he told me, "Oh, what is the name of your band?" And, "Oh, I don't have a name of my band." "Oh, let's and we started to randomly take a vinyl from my vinyl collections, and the vinyl came from Yellow. This band switched band, and the song was called Bostitch, and I took the name from that song.
Raúl had a feeling that was the idea behind it.
Just a random thought. Why was it the idea to finish the Nortec sound? Did you think it had an end?
No, because I think it was a very good end, because we collaborate with people that we love, like Kraftwerk, Alan Parsons, a lot of collaborations, playing in festivals. So that's the reason we decided. But when we said we're going to finish, a lot of opportunities came, and opportunities not to play. I mean that opportunities to do something different. That is like a Cirque Du Soleil. And so I think for us, like, Nortec is very, very easy to produce,
right.
to even to do something, trying to do something new, evolution, the sound.
Well, as your fans and as the audience here, like, we don't want Nortec to ever end, so I'm glad that you guys are back.
Yes.
And it's been 20 years. We can't wait for 20 more years.
Yes.
Well, before we end, we have this tradition at room number 7 of asking 7 questions. And we ask these 7 questions. See, it's kind of famous now. People look forward to it. So these are the 7 questions that we ask.
Yes,
okay, try not to think about it too much. Okay, so it's kind of like speed fire. What is your pre-show ritual? Algo que creas que te da suerte antes de entrar al escenario.
Thinking my family. I think yes.
One,
always,
two,
always.
three. That's because his family is here.
Yes.
You obviously mentioned a lot of music, a lot of vinyls, a lot of records. What was the first album that you either bought, borrowed, stole?
Kraftwerk, Autobahn from Kraftwerk. So that changed my life. I didn't know about synthesizers. I didn't know that instruments, but from that I was more trying to find more about electronic music.
What did you think when you heard that? Like, because this is something completely foreign to the sounds that you were hearing in Tijuana back then. I mean, you're hearing, obviously those iconic artists that we all know from back then, and then all of a sudden you throw in Kraftwerk or
I think it's the passion to imagine the future. I think I'm more like in the futuristic things like movies and since I was a kid. And when I listen to electronic music, like even Pink Floyd and that are progressive bands, but mostly with Jarre and Kraftwerk. When I listened, I was imagining, I think in the future, the music will be only electronic, and that's the reason why.
So, who is your musical crush and why? And it could be a man because you like how he produces music, or it could be a woman. It's up to you. Musical crush and why?
and it could be somebody dead or alive.
No, I love. It's a difficult question, but I am fan of Air, this French band, and always to me it's fresh music. So that's when I want to relax or something. Like Air is one of them.
Okay.
And then you play the song "Sexy Boy."
Yeah.
Of course. So this is my song.
I thought you were going to say Pepe.
All right. So if you could time travel to any era, any place, where would it be?
I think the most surreal concert in my life was in Tijuana, watching Psychic TV. It's a very advanced of time band because was playing acid house at that time in the late 80s. And I think we'll be very happy to be there again and watching this futuristic music.
You've been, like I said before, you've played at Coachella, Glastonbury, Outside Lands, Vive Latino, all these amazing festivals. Any cool backstage anecdote that you can tell us about? Any weird thing happening backstage? Any other band that you, I don't know, that you met and you thought they were going to be great and then you met them and you're like, oh my God, they suck? Any backstage anecdote that you can share with us?
Oh my God. let me take a drink.
Wait, that's the next question. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay. I never in my life taken any drug, any time in my life. So I was playing 2 years ago in Glastonbury. I was there, and I was in the backstage, and I was a little late there in Glastonbury, and my musicians, they didn't allow them to eat there. I don't know why, but I came a little late there, and they allow me to eat, and I take a food there, a very delicious soup, and then was the sound check, and then I started to feeling like a little weird, and I sleep, and I was there sleeping, and very far from the stages of the concerts, and then another stage was playing Muse, and another stage was playing a reggae band, and to me was like crazy listening that bands. And then I started to feel a little weird in my body because without clothes, so only my lechones. And then I came out and asked one of the musicians. I asked for another musicians, and he told me, no, that musicians, they didn't came to this show. Why are you asking for him? I don't know. So I came to play in the show, and before I playing, I saw a lot of people getting to our backstage in the window, and I asked Pepe,
like through the window?
Through the window, and I asked Pepe, somebody's getting to our backstage in the window, and he told me, no, it's no windows there. It's no windows there, and I starting to myself feeling like a different, and
you're like, this jet lag is really weird.
Different, and I was like, and Pepe and my other musicians, they realized that I was little weird, and Pepe asked the promoter in Glastonbury. The promoters are hippies from the 70s, and hey, what my partner is feeling like a little weird, and maybe he ate something, and he told, oh, he has the best wheat soup in UK. So I think was a very bad experience, and I think that's not the only wheat. I think was mushrooms or something, because I was like, And Pepe, he was laughing at me. Hey, Ramon, it's your first time in Glastonbury. So I think was the most. When they told me that I feel more comfortable because at the beginning I was thinking getting crazier.
Right. That's the best vegetable soup in the world.
Well, as long as you didn't run across the fields in your chonies.
Right. Were you still able to play okay?
Yes, when Pepe told me, he told me professional. He told me, "Hey Ramon, take a beer and eat something." And then
you were fine.
Yeah, fine.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. So, if there's anybody that you would love to have a drink with, and it could be somebody again, dead or alive, just to have that time and be able to sit with them and have that drink, who would that be?
I think that happened to me. That happened to me and Pepe. 2 years ago, we have opportunity to did a song with crowd work with one of the musicians, and Wolfgang Flor, the percussionist, he invited us to do a tour in Düsseldorf, this place from Germany, and he invited us to stay in the first bar when they drink, the restaurant, the place when they did the music, and that experience was huge for us, like trying to, you have a super hero in electronic music and stay with him. I think that happens for us.
So our last and seventh question was actually made by our previous artist who we had here in December, which was Gaby Moreno. I don't know if any of you were here for that show. So we asked our guest to leave a question for the following artist. Okay. So Gaby Moreno asked, she didn't know it was going to be you. Okay. They never know who it is. So if you could only take one album to space with you, what album would you take?
Music for Airports from Brian Eno. I think that will be endless to listen to. Music for Airports, Brian Eno.
So you need to leave a question for whoever we have next in February. What question would you want to leave that artist?
I think, what song changed your life?
Ooh, okay. That's a good one. Thank you so much, Ramon. And
thank you.
We miss Pepe, but you did an amazing job, so thank you for being here with us. Now we open up the floor for a Q&A from the audience. Anybody has a question for Ramon?
I went to Coachella when you went to play to Coachella, and I was like, oh my goodness, I am like so excited. I even took my son. My son name is Ramses, and we were so excited, both my husband, Ramses, and myself. I couldn't go in there, but I saw you from like far away. Okay?
Thank you. What was Coachella to you? Yes, Coachella was for us very important because we played in the in the second Coachella 2001 there, I think, and then coming back more than 15 years later to Coachella was very important. And I think there is as a Mexican band trying to represent in somehow the music from there was very important for us. That's the reason why.
Hola, Bostich. I saw you guys back in the early 90s when you guys were doing your musical things with the samples and the videos, the video productions, and then eventually you guys went into, with the real musicians. And I just want to know, like, every time I come, I see you and I hear something new from you, like, what is the next step that you think you're gonna go into?
I think it's back to roots, because Pepe and I were working in side projects, working with our instruments, the main instrument that is synthesizers, drum machines, and we have more projects. Pepe has a project called Quadripoint. It's like a more, it has something to do with the border. And I have my project like as a Ramón La Musica with only techno and some experimental things. But we have more projects coming. we have a project with this contemporary dance from New York called Pilobulus. And we did that work last year, but this year we're working another project in the border. So continue working, producing.
Hey, so where do you see electronic music in Mexico going for the future?
It's a lot of new generations. The thing about electronic music is now is thousands of bands, have thousands of projects. It's very difficult to find something good. But it's happening in Tijuana. We have some projects there that is working good. And Pepe is doing a very good research about it. And he has his Spotify with electronic music from Mexico. It's only Mexican musicians, so you can check it out, and it's a good music there.
Bueno, siendo de Tijuana, de La Sánchez, quiero preguntar qué opinas sobre la escena en Tijuana con nuevas bandas como Policías y Ladrones, Ratigán, Parques de Cometas. ¿Qué opinas sobre el movimiento que está surgiendo ahorita y cómo puede crecer?
Sí.
So basically what he's asking is how do you feel and what's your opinion on the new bands that are coming out of Tijuana?
It's a very talented new bands. The thing is sometimes they decide to move from Tijuana, even go to Mexico City, but I think it's not a good idea to move there because a lot of bands, and the best thing is to stay there, like Policías y Ladrones y Cometas. Ellos los conozco. It's a very, very good one. Even Ramona is very good. In electronic music is Braulio Lam and my son. My sons.
Shameless plug to your son.
My sons, Grenda and Yune. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for being part of Pili, Raul La Musica en Vivo with Nortec Collective, Ramón, Bostich. Thank you for sharing so much about your story, for inspiring us, and also congratulations on being one of those few bands that are able to create their own sound and genre.
So once again, give it up for Bostich, everybody, of Nortec Collective. Que se escuche, por favor. Gracias for checking out our podcast.
Hey, and special thanks to Ulises El Licenciado Lozano for our amazing theme song.
Our mix and recording engineer, Mario Diaz.
Our artistic director, Dak.
And can't forget about our sponsors, Pili.
No, Raúl, Shure Microphones, and Jack Daniels, gracias for supporting La Música Latina.
And for more information and other episodes, be sure to subscribe to our podcast at Pili, Raúl, and La Música.
Hey, make sure to tell your tía, abuelo, primas, everybody to subscribe.
A todos.